You are doing a general reading and at some point you discover something and I want to show that. Look, you start with yourself of course, this is of course the Mademoiselle Lenormand, and you start with yourself of course, and you are lying here. And then you look at the cards that are lying around it. This is a general reading. In fact, you don't know at all what it is about because you haven't set a theme, and you haven't asked a question either, so it becomes extra difficult because the Lenormand of course wants you to have a theme and a question, and certainly with the Grand Tableau. But anyway, we are not going to do that. We are going to see if we can do it in such a way that we lay it all out upright. I have now laid all the cards out like this. So no cards upright and upside down. No, just the cards upright. That is of course not how I actually work. But anyway, I have done that. And if you agree on that in advance with the cards, or you actually only want to work with the cards upright, then you can do that very well in this way. Here you lie. Your partner lies here. This could be a relationship reading, or something else. In any case, your partner is very close to you. You are not looking at each other, but that does not have to be an obstacle in itself, right? It may be that you often have it like that and that it is okay. Of course it can also be that it is like that and then it is of course completely great. But it can also be that it is simply better for the cards, that it is like that, and that is also completely okay. At least that is what I have. It may be the case with you that if it is like that, and you often have an argument and they are like that, yes, then for you it is a sign of, okay, watch out. Just a warning card, let me put it this way. But then of course we will look further because there is also a message. There is something here, someone is going to tell something. That could be the partner or it could be something else. You can see it here too, so you get that communication. You have had that in the past because we work with the cards like this. This is the past, this is the distant past, and then you always work with the cards like this. You can of course indicate in advance. I will lay the Grand Tableau for half a year, or I will lay it for a year, or I will lay it for a month. Of course you can indicate that because then it is a bit clearer for yourself. And that is always very nice. Even if you don't know anything else. Okay, let's say that this is for a year. You can also do this if it is for a year. So if it's a yearly reading in August or September, that's very possible. Then you calculate until the month of August of next year, or the month of September of next year. This is you, and this is your partner. In any case, they are close to each other, which is always a good sign for me. And then you look, hey, there's a key around you, the ship is there. There's going to be a change. The book? So there's going to be clarity. Something is going to be cut, or there's going to be a new beginning. That's true of course. I don't have the cards the other way around now, so it's just a matter of waiting to see what it will be. Then you have a messenger here. Someone is going to tell you something. It actually comes down to something is being told. Okay, let's take a look at the past. The past is, if you look at the corner cards, issues, it can have something to do with trust, those issues. They can be there. The trust can have something to do with a woman who, or it has to do with her zodiac sign. But in this case I would say that is a woman, a snake, sneaky, you know. In itself you could see it like that, sneaky. It's not the fox, so you could possibly have an eye on it yourself. But that's not necessary, but in any case this one represents a woman who is sneaky. It's possible that you gain insight into that. Of course this one always stands for happiness and such, but it can also be. It also stands for insight, that you gain insight. And since you also have all these insight cards of people who are going to tell you things and this yes the side you know, that means a break. It can be a temporary break. That can also really be a final break. Or that you don't know that yet. But it really is a break. Those are the corner cards. They are mega important. You are going to look because you don't know yet what it is about, but apparently it is in the relationship spheres. Let me put it this way. So in trust. Here you see the lily, which stands for innocence, purity, but yes, that is a thing. So it is something pure or something that is not pure. That also applies to the tree. Is it healthy? Is it pure? Is it not pure? The tree also stands for family, family tree, that is what it also stands for. You are going to look further. There are a lot of worries. The card is at the top, so it is quite important, not to say very important. At the top, the most powerful card, you have a lot of blockages. What the Pisces stands for, besides all the other things, is emotions. It stands for emotions just like the moon, and that is a thing. And it may be that something goes in your head like, oh, but that is indeed true because it stands for what I have experienced in the past. And it may be, because the child also often stands for innocence, for not understanding things. Yes, that is what it stands for very often. What it can also stand for is, and coincidentally it is a walk that is depicted here. But that you went for a walk with a friend at some point and that you told about the blockages. Like, I have a block with someone, and there's something I want to resolve, but I don't really know how to do that. That could still be about the man. But it doesn't have to be. For example, you would like to expand with that person, but yes, you are naive somewhere. So you actually want advice from your girlfriend. You have a lot of stress when you see that person, and then it doesn't have to be just about your relationship. It can also really be about someone else. Look, that is possible. Keep that in mind for a moment. What happens then? That girlfriend. Here is that girlfriend, and that girlfriend gives you advice. The stork of course always stands for a new beginning. So it is a very strong card, which also means that it is mega important in this spread. Actually, there is a change in your thinking, in your world of, that girlfriend shows you a completely different perspective, very important. Now this is always often that you see things gloomy, but at some point the air can clear. Then there's something like, oh man, is it true? Is it possible? I didn't know that. Yes, there are a lot of emotions involved, that's true. Because at some point it starts to gnaw at you. You think, yes, you know. You start thinking about it. It was a kind of aha moment in what your girlfriend told you. Then you start communicating with your partner, also about that problem. In fact, they also come up with a solution. Or they say at some point, you're always so stressed. Or you're always very stressed, but also quite sad. And very exhausted and always super tired when you see that person, or that you have seen her, and then come home again. Then you're always very stressed. And you think, it's really true. You know, it's just true. I just never understood it that way and never saw it that way. How is that possible? Well, yes, it is possible. So that person, your partner, also actually offers the solution. Now you have heard it from your girlfriend and you have heard it from your relationship. Yes, you are actually going to a clean house with the information you have had. Like, okay, what are you going to do with it? You are going to think about it very deeply, and there is actually a kind of change, but, in this case, a change in your own way of thinking. Because the rider also represents your way of thinking. He also represents a message, but he also represents a way of thinking, your own way of thinking. Or the way of thinking of the other. But let's assume for a moment that you have of course laid this out for yourself. If it is for the other, then it is of course the way of thinking of the other. A mindset, and you think about it like, should I break up with that person? Should I not break up with that person? What should I do? What? You're stuck with it, it's not nothing. It's not nothing. It's a very long relationship, and it can be family. It's about a very long relationship. And then you have the book here. And the book is also about the insights and what happened in the past. What happened? And does that outweigh the good things that you still have with that person? That's the most important thing. Then you move on and the garden comes. You might tell it to several people. Okay, what do you think then? You're going to throw it more into the group what you want to do. And you're really going to feel with your heart, you're going to feel with your heart, yes or no. You're really going to open your heart, so besides thinking with your mind, you actually want to work more with your feelings. With your pure feeling, to let your feelings speak. And let your feelings make the decision. That's it actually. And then it really comes out like, yes, it's about that person. It's about family. It's about a family member, because this is the house and the house also stands for family. Some family member that you've been around all your life. That could be anything, your cousin, your niece, blah, blah, blah. That comes to an end, that's just very clear. And this also stands for older. Yeah, you know. Just the things that you didn't realize. All the cunning. You're fed up with that because that's what it says, this. You distance yourself. You're really going to break it, or you're really going to end the relationship, and you think, this isn't going to work, and this is also about a relationship. But it's just a relationship of cunning, in fact, of manipulation, which you never realized and which actually had to simmer for years before you realized it. So you're done with that manipulative relationship. It could even be that it's about a sister, because the bouquet lies next to all the other meanings, also for a sister, or a sister-in-law, that's also possible. It could also have to do with a sister-in-law. You can suddenly think, oh, I didn't know that at all. In the sense that the cards can also indicate that, and the cards indicate it. It's just an example reading, of course. If this is the case for you, you might also think, oh, wait a minute. Manipulation, and it's about a sister or a sister-in-law. Well, and then in this case, the end result is that you just think, okay, this is the path of life. It has always been somewhat manipulated. It has always been manipulated by that sister, or that sister-in-law. And I just don't feel like doing that anymore, so I cut it off. You do this for your self-protection, and who knows, maybe one day with I don't know. If the person contacts you, or does their best for you, or lets you know that they value you very much, and that person comes up with good arguments, or with, oh yeah, shit, and oh, how bad, and I didn't know I was doing it like that. Yes, I know. Yes, you're right, oh, how can I make it right? Well, or whatever, so that your heart can make a leap again and open up again. That's another story, that's another story. In fact, this general reading has become a kind of family reading. And maybe even a sister or sister-in-law reading. You can see that a general reading suddenly really starts to work. In the sense that it really becomes a kind of image for you. Now of course this is an example reading, so I just put this down like this as intuition, but as an example. Keep in mind that it doesn't only have to be about your partner in a relational setting, but that partner can also just bring about something that starts to flow. That you think, oh, I haven't seen it for years, I had a blind spot for this. And then you gradually see those images come to life. You can of course also think in advance, okay, so I want to do a grand tableau that tells something about my family, and then say, I want to do a reading about family, and then for example about my sister or about my sister-in-law or brother or whatever. Or you also say, that you have a question. That is of course very easy, but this is not right now. I now say okay, this is of course a general reading, then something clear always comes out. That was it. I will also add up the hidden cards a bit in the next video. And then you can also see that as a reminder, and then I say until the next video, and nice that you watched of course. If you think it is a nice video, like me, and I think that is very nice. And become a subscriber, and of course, if you have a question, I'll hear it. About this reading. Maybe you have a question about a specific card, then I'll hear it. And have a great day.